guys, what is up? Welcome back to my channel. Today we are doing a wrap up. It is like September 2nd when I'm filming this, so August is done, which means summer's almost over, which I get actually really sad. But I do love Halloween. It is my favorite, so I'm kicking things off real spooky this year, trying to get my Halloween decorations up early. None of you guys care. You're all here for my August wrap up. Before we get on into it, my name is Kendra. If you're new here, please join the family if you'd like to see more videos like this. Also, I post pretty frequently on my social media, so if you want to see what I'm up to on a day-to-day basis, that's the best place to do it. Let's be friends there. Yes, I'm excited. Let's get right on into things. Okay, really quickly before we get on into the wrap up, I just wanted to announce that the overhyped book club book of the month this month is Serpent and Dove by I don't know the author, because I don't have the actual copy because it actually doesn't come out until tomorrow, I think. And so I pre-ordered it, you know, but I don't have it. Shelby Matern, who knows? But that is our book club pick of the month this month, so we will be doing a live show towards the end of the month. It's probably gonna be sometime around, if not always, the last Friday of every month. Keep updated. You can follow us on our Twitter account. We are quite active on there. And if you follow us on that Twitter account, you get to vote for what book will be the following month's book. Does that make sense? I don't know. Can't really put my words together right now, so. Okay guys, so I read 5 books this month, listened to 1 audiobook, and read 1 comic book, I think, or graphic novel. I think it's considered a comic book. But yeah, I'm excited to talk all about this. Okay, so the first book I finished, and I kind of like took this book really slowly on purpose, and I only read about 20% of it. Most of it was audiobook, which actually is way better, and that is the Princess Diaries by Carrie Fisher, because the audiobook of this is narrated by Carrie Fisher. There are some diary entries from her actual diary that are narrated by her daughter Billie Lourd. If you didn't know, her daughter Billie Lourd, she was in Scream Queens. She's also been in the 2, like The Last Jedi and The Force Awakens. So I love Billie, but I love Carrie Fisher with all of my heart. And this was amazing because this tells the details of her and Harrison Ford's relationship / affair, which hadn't really been talked about up until this point. Both her and Harrison Ford had kind of like, been on the same page as to not really discussing that, because when you discuss something like that, it doesn't just involve you, it involves other people like Harrison and Harrison's wife at the time, and Harrison's kids, and Carrie Fisher and Carrie Fisher's kids. Like, it just involves everyone. But I guess she had found these diary entries when she was going through stuff, and then it just inspired her to write this whole book. And it's just an incredible audiobook. You get the words straight from Carrie Fisher's mouth, so exactly how certain words are supposed to be emphasized and certain sentences are supposed to be said. That's exactly what you're getting in this book. It's not that long. The audiobook is like 5 hours long. But yeah, it's not a long audiobook at all, so I highly recommend the audiobook or reading it, but definitely the audiobook. But also pick up the book because there's like pictures in here. Let's see if I can find a picture. You guys, it's my Leia. And it's so cool. It talks about, like, look at them. Look at our 3 people, our team, our trio. It also talks about, what's his name? Mark Hamill a lot too, a little bit. And it's just really funny. Carrie Fisher's hilarious. I love her so much. May she rest in peace. But seriously, she's like she's one of my favorite people ever. 5 out of 5 stars, highly recommend. I feel like I've been blabbing on about this book for a lot, but it was incredible. I took it really slow over the course of like 2 months or so that I could really digest everything. And yeah, loved it. This is definitely the month of like books that I read that are not my typical genre. As you guys know, my normal genre, my favorite genre is YA fantasy. But I definitely have been wanting to put my toes into the pool of adult fantasy, like stuff like Game of Thrones and stuff like that, because obviously I'm not a teenager. I'm 26 years old, and that being said, I can still read YA fantasy the rest of my life and love it, and I will. Like, I genuinely see myself doing that, but I kind of want to broaden my like reach, I guess you could say. I still think YA fantasy will be my #1 for a very long time, but I just wanted to open the door to adult fantasy. Does that make sense? So we all know, if you don't, now you do, that Henry Cavill is going to be Geralt from The Witcher in the new Netflix series called The Witcher. If you didn't know, a lot of people here on YouTube, other gamers, my husband loves the Witcher video games. They're very, very, very popular, and they are inspired and based off of the Witcher series. Now this book is, I don't know how to say his first name, it's like Andrzej. He's Polish. His last name is Sapkowski. I can pronounce that. I don't know if I'm pronouncing it correctly, but I can at least try, you know? And the video game series is very, very popular. I'm so freaking excited for the Netflix series. So I have been craving, like, fantasy is my favorite genre when it comes to TV shows, movies, stuff like that. Been craving another good fantasy series, and I'm hoping that The Witcher delivers. But I really wanted to read the books before the series came out, and I knew that the series was based off of the short stories from the first 2 books in this series. The first book in this series is called The Last Wish. The first 2 books are a collection of short stories, but they do an incredible job of describing and giving you world building and defining the characters and everything. So I was like a little concerned because I was like, typically I prefer like a novel format, like, you know what I mean? But this, I'm shocked by how much I love this. This I gave 4 out of 5 stars. I really, really loved this. There were certain stories in this book that I loved, and certain stories that I thought were just good or great. Like, you know what I mean? Like, nothing bad at all. When I started this book, I did know quite a lot about The Witcher. I mean, not like really about the story, but about the character and the world and what it's all about. I knew that there was this character named Geralt. I knew that there was this character named Ciri, and Ciri basically becomes Geralt's daughter, even though she's not really his daughter, but he protects her. So I knew a lot about it, and I knew that he was a witcher, so he kills monsters for hire, right? I knew that. The stories in this are really great. There were a couple that I loved more than others, but it didn't matter. Like, this entire story made me fall in love with Geralt. This one was like pretty mysterious, the way that the stories were set up. Before every like section of a new short story, there was like a really short thing called, what was it called? The Voice of Reason. And that in itself told a different story. So like trying to piece together the timeline was really, really fun. I thought it was really brilliant and unique. Loved it, 4 out of 5 stars. The next book I read was obviously the next book in the series, which is Sword of Destiny, which is also a collection of short stories. This one though, I gave 5 stars. And well, okay, I gave 4.5 stars because I really liked a lot of these short stories, but there are 2 short stories in here that became like 2 of my favorite stories ever. I love them. One is called The Bounds of Reason, which is the very first one. The other one, which I think might be the second one, which is like super heartbreaking, is called A Shard of Ice. And that's where you learn a little bit more about Geralt and Yennefer's relationship. And then the next one that I loved, like I thought is easily the best in this entire book, was, I gotta find it. Oh, it's called A Little Sacrifice. My heart was shattered. It's so good. Actually, this whole book, okay, I think I need to switch this to 5 stars because this whole book was so good. The last one is called Something More. It's the very last short story. There was only like one short story where I got so bored, I hated it, and it had to do with like this little creature that was impersonating another one, and I just didn't vibe with it. I didn't follow it very well. All the other short stories in here were incredible. I highly, highly, highly recommend this series because the first 2 books are so incredible. Loved this book so much. Like, I have immense love for it. This now officially became like a favorite book of all time, like on my list of favorite books, because it was so good. Those 3 stories in this book, or 4 stories, whatever, incredible, fantastic. I teared up. It was emotional. It was beautiful. We love Geralt. And then the next book in the series is the first book of the like novels of The Witcher, I guess. This is technically book 1, and it is called Blood of Elves. And basically, I mean, this doesn't give anything away, but this is the beginning of Geralt and Ciri's journey. Ciri is not just a normal kid. She is the daughter of a prince and princess. And basically there was a big war and she had to flee. And you find this stuff out in the prequel books. Again, it's not really this isn't a spoiler. Like, if you know anything about The Witcher, you already know this. And so Geralt takes her in basically as his daughter and then trains her to be kind of like a witcher at the Kaer Morhen, I think is how you call it, how you say it, with where the witchers train. And it just shows the struggles. He has to protect her. People are after her because they know she's alive and they know who she is. She's the princess. Anyways, love this. I gave it 4 out of 5 stars. No, I gave this 5 stars. I loved it. I gave it 5 stars. Sorry, it's like this month has been such a weird reading month. I don't even know, because I've read the most different things than I've normally read. I will say the only thing different, which I grew to love, but I did kind of like, it made me mad at the beginning, and that is that Geralt is kind of not the main character in this book particularly. I would say Ciri is more the main character in this book, so you get almost everything. Well, I would say like 60% of the book is through her eyes. Probably about 20% of the book is through Geralt's eyes, and the other 20%, like Dandelion has a chapter, and I think one other person, oh, Triss. I think Triss is the other person. Anyways, it's incredible. I loved it. This has quickly become a favorite series of all time. I highly recommend it if you're looking into branching out into adult fantasy and you want like an epic high fantasy tale. This is a great one for you. Oh, and a note, I did do about 50% audiobook for Blood of Elves, and I really like the narrator, but I also really liked reading it as well. So I kind of just like when I get ready in the morning, I'd listen to it, but when I'd be like reading, I'd read the book. Okay, the next book that I read, which I don't have a physical copy of because I got it as an ARC, it is Crown of Coral and Pearl by Mara Rutherford. I gave this book a 3.5 out of 5 stars. I think it was good. I just don't think it was great. I liked the story, but I thought that some points of it were really weak. I liked the main character. I liked the love interest, but the love interest, we don't learn enough about him. His name is Talon, which I kept wanting to say Tamlin because of Akatar, but I was like, no, Kendra, it's Talon. But it's T-A-L-A-N, so I think it's just Talon. It's not Talon, it should be Talon, right? Anyways, this story follows a girl named Noor, and Noor has a twin sister named Zadie. Now, Noor and Zadie live on this town that like literally is above water, is what I pictured it as, which I thought was amazing. I want to live there. It looked really cool. Their houses are built on these stilts, and they are probably like 10 to 20 feet on top of the water, and so they rely on the ocean for everything, like food, water, like all these kinds of things. They rely heavily on the ocean, which I thought was such a cool thing. And they are basically, for lack of a better word, used by this other kingdom to hunt these like pink pearls or red pearls, I don't know, to hunt these pearls for them, because these people that live on land in this kingdom think that they need those pearls to like, they use them as like jewelry, but they also like consume them because they think that they have healing properties. Anyways, Noor and Zadie are considered like the most beautiful girls of this city, which is to their benefit because every time there's a new prince that has come of marrying age, they take a girl, like it's tradition to take the most beautiful girl from this city that lives above the water and bring her to land to be the princess. So Noor actually has a cut on her face, like right here or something. So everyone knows they're gonna choose Zadie. Well, they do choose Zadie, but then an accident befalls Zadie and Noor needs to go in her place. So this is all about, like, there's a lot of political intrigue. There's a lot that's going on behind closed doors. Corruption that you start to learn about, and it also shows the struggle of her like trying to adjust to this new city. She's never been on land before. So it is very interesting. I love the city. I think the city's called Verenia. No. Yeah, Verenia. It's really cool. I loved the world. I thought the world was really cool. I loved this city above water. I loved this idea that like a girl gets stripped from her home to go be the princess is what we think, but we don't know anything about it, and these people have no communication anymore. There was a lot of mystery behind everything. Some of the things felt really flat to me, like Talon, the love interest, because we like didn't really get enough of him to know what he's all about. Anytime he and our main character Noor spoke, it was always about her. Sometimes it was about his mom, but like very rarely, and you'll see that if you read this book. Again, I don't think this was a bad book. I just think that if I was like 15 years old, I would have overlooked all of these things, but because I'm maybe more mature in the way I read, that I focus a little bit more on those details that are lacking in certain stories. The first 25% of the book was really fast paced, and then it started to really slow down. And then the last like 20% of the book was really fast paced again. So like I thought the pacing was wrong too. Like it just didn't fit with me. That being said, I did enjoy a lot about it. I do see myself probably continuing on with the series because it's going to be a series. I don't know how long of a series, but it's going to be a series at some point. But it did come out August 26th, I believe. I did get an arc via NetGalley and the publisher, so thank you to NetGalley and the publisher, which is Harlequin Teen Publishing, but all of my thoughts and opinions are 100% my own, so. But thank you to NetGalley and Harlequin Teen Publishing, because I am so excited to be getting arcs, so. All in all, 3.5 stars. I did enjoy it. I just saw too many flaws. Does that make sense? In my rating scheme, a 3 star is not a bad rating. It just means I didn't vibe with the story per se. So the fact that I gave this 3.5 stars means it's a pretty good book. I just didn't personally vibe with it. You know what I mean? Okay, the next thing I read was this Saga, which is a comic book. This is just the first one, volume 1. This is about this man and woman, I guess you could say, but they're not humans, so it's kind of hard to describe. And they have a baby, but like they're from 2 different worlds that are warring, and so their love is kind of forbidden. It's like forbidden love. But you jump right into the story right as they're having this baby, and I think it is so awesome that there is a comic book based off of a family trying to protect their child and trying to protect each other and trying to get away from the danger that the world is causing. You almost never hear stories about these little families, especially with newborn babies, and I just thought it was so cool. I gave this a 4 out of 5 stars. I loved it. I thought the art was really, really cool. Like, let's see if I can turn to something that doesn't really give anything away. Like, I thought the art was really cool. I thought the colors were really pretty. I loved the idea behind this. I will say this is like an adult comic book, so there are some graphic moments in this. I don't think it's horrible, but just like be warned that this isn't young adult. Like there are definitely some graphic images and some couple cuss words here and there, so just prepare yourself if you're going into this if you're not accustomed to that already. I definitely see myself continuing on with this. 4 out of 5 stars. I thought it was great. I've heard incredible things about the rest of the series. I'm not like a huge comic book reader or like graphic novel or manga reader, but I definitely see myself continuing on with this because I loved it. I just need to pick up volume 2 because it wasn't at Barnes & Noble's when I went to get it, so I love this. And lastly, which if you watched our Overhyped Book Club live show, that you would already know how I feel about this and you would already know about this book. I read Sorcery of Thorns by Margaret Rogerson. So the Overhyped Book Club is me, Majelle from Majelle Bell, Katie from Katie's Book Nook, and Karina from Bookish Babbles. Karina wasn't able to make it, which was really sad, but she is, like, we are the main 4 people, so we will always be on every live show. We discussed this. The live show is up on Majelle's channel, and I do share it on my channel, so you can find it on my community page as well, or like your subscription page. If you're subscribed to me, you'll see that I shared it. We had a great time talking about this. Me and Majelle both didn't love it, but Katie and Ilya loved it. They gave it 5 out of 5 stars. It was one of Katie's favorite books of all time. Like it's one of Katie's favorite books of all time now. Ilya said the same thing. Majelle and I we kind of felt the same. It just wasn't our favorite, which is okay. So I personally gave it 3 out of 5 stars. Again, remember what I said earlier, that's not a bad rating. That's just saying I didn't personally vibe with the story. There were flaws that I saw that bothered me personally. They might not have been seen or bothered other people, which is fine, but I saw them, they bothered me, and I kept thinking about them, you know what I mean? There is one incredible thing about this book that I think is done so insanely well, and that is the character named Silas. So the story of this book is about a girl named Elizabeth who is a apprentice to become a warden of a library, and in this world libraries are very important. Well, they are important in our world too, but the books in this world are sentient creatures and they have different classes. So like the ones that are like class 1, 2, 3, and 4 aren't really that big of a problem, but you go up 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 I think is the highest, or maybe 13. And they they talk a little bit, they contain really, really evil or really, really compelling information within them, so they have a higher class ranking. So they're kept under like lock and key, or like they're kept with iron and salt, which lessens the use of magic. So I thought that was brilliant. I thought it was so cool. So Elizabeth is basically framed for a murder, which she obviously didn't commit, but then she is taken from the library to go to this other place for like a trial and to see if like she really did commit the murder. The person who takes her is a sorcerer named Nathaniel, and her entire life all librarians believe that sorcerers and these magisters are evil, so she thinks he's evil. She comes to learn that he is obviously not evil. He also, all sorcerers have a demon like that helps contribute to their power, I guess you could say. But these demons have deals with their sorcerer and they steal a little bit of their sorcerer's like life or something. But the best thing about this book was Silas, who's the demon, Nathaniel's demon. He was an incredibly crafted character. He was so deep, had such a compelling backstory. The way he was written, the words he used, the sentence structures, like brilliant. I loved him. I thought he was incredible. I really honestly want, this is a standalone novel by the way, but I really honestly want Margaret Rogerson to like write a standalone prequel book about Silas, because I think that would be brilliant. I would buy it in 2 seconds. I would pre-order it even. Like I think it would be amazing. But like a lot of things fell flat for me in this book, like the romance. I like just didn't really believe in it too much because there was no romance till really the end. So there wasn't anything that kept me invested in their relationship really throughout. The other thing I thought was awesome, which I really loved with the book, were the books like of this book. The fact that they were sentient creatures, they had thoughts and feelings. I thought it was brilliant, and people relied on books, which I think is such an awesome theme, and I hope that that translates well into young girls that are reading this book. I just hope it helps them fall more in love with the idea of reading and loving books as much as like our main characters loved books, you know what I mean? I thought the dialogue was written very well. I thought it was very fun and fresh, sometimes cheesy, but I expect that with young adult novels, and I thought it was like really fun to read and the banter was great. And then the other thing I loved was that Elizabeth, our main character, is really tall, and I'm not like super tall, but I'm like 5'10", and you like never see a tall girl as your protagonist. Like a lot of times the protagonist's best friend is tall, but you never really see a tall girl as the main character. And I'm not trying to act like tall white girls are a minority, because they're not, but I'm just saying it was cool to see that little bit of representation in this novel. Okay guys, so that is going to be it for this August wrap up. This is a lot longer than my normal wrap ups. Usually they're like 10 to 12 minutes long. I don't know what happened to this. I apologize. If you stuck it out to the very end, thank you very much. I love you. Don't forget to read Serpent and Dove this month, and don't forget to follow the Overhead Book Club on Twitter so that you can see when the live show is and everything. And don't forget to follow my social medias. I'm pretty active on them, and I'd love to be friends with you guys there as well. But I'm gonna let you guys go. Have a great morning, noon, evening, day, night, whenever happens to be that you're watching this video, and I will see you in my next one. Bye!